about, I mean, talk about that for a moment. You wanted to know about how this plays out in family. Really? Does it look different? Isn't that what you wanted to know?
Yeah, I wanted to know, just because of the strong attachments that are hopefully built within a family, is can you get into enemy mode quicker, or is it a slower process? Can you refriend, like what you talked in the book? Can you actually walk up that hill a little bit faster to refriending? I mean, even as you were just describing the 3 types, I was automatically seeing different things that have happened in our household with all 3 types. You know, like we have a teenage son. And so just walking into his bedroom as a mom, he's like, why are you interrupting
He's
me?
in simple.
Why are you here?
So actually, I think we should probably better call this conversation not in family, but with our teenage son.
Yeah.
Because he has all 3 of them pretty much 24 hours a day right now. It's like, just pick your enemy mode.
Yeah, particularly with his parents, less so with his peers, but that's one of the wonderful things about turning 14. Your brain goes through and takes out a lot of your self-control circuits, and then loads you up with over 1,000 times more chemicals than your brain has ever seen before. We call them hormones. That irritate the nervous system no end. And so he's running around with an extremely irritable nervous system. And so anytime you bump into him, it's sort of like bumping into somebody with a sunburn, whether they mean, you mean to or not. It feels like, why did you just cause me excruciating pain and instability? And just seeing you coming, your brain's a great predictor. It says, oh, here comes the source of my instability once again. Who are you who troubles Israel and all teenagers?
Wow, so accurate.
It is right now, especially. And then, well, even with between our son and us as his parents, but we have a daughter. I mean, we have 2 daughters, but our younger daughter is also usually in enemy mode with her brother. How does
she's 16?
She's 16,
yeah.
And so the 16 and the 13-year-old we call them the middles. They're the middle. We have 4 kids. They're in the middle, and those 2, if they start at the table, it's miserable for all of us at that moment in time. Is it different between siblings and gender, and I mean, in a family relationship? I mean, what are all the different factors that influence enemy mode within a family? And I know that's a huge question that probably takes several different podcasts, but just like a brief overview.
Yeah, well, the funny thing with families is they're constantly making, shifting, and changing alliances. And adolescence is a time when you're trying to define yourself as different than anybody else. Like I'm no longer looking for what I have in common with my family. I'm looking for what makes me different than my family. And one of those is your strategy for dealing with parents. So you get kids, and one of them says, "Well, I'm gonna do what my parents want, and that's how I'll deal with them." And the other one goes like, I'm going to be so different from them that I'm not going to be anything like them. And then, those 2, conflict about their identification methods. And, one thing about the human being is you're always trying to get everybody else to do things your way, because obviously we figured it out, and so it must be the smartest way to do it. But to get back to the original question, families give you the most opportunity to get into enemy mode because they're the closest to you. And so you really can't prevent it. Your brain, it's like falling down a hill. Your brain goes downhill into enemy mode extremely easily at the least provocation. And climbing back up the hill is a lot more work. So the question should be whether the family has resources and teaches each other how to get out of enemy mode. And that's where most families get into trouble. Because the American solution since the 1950s has been we have to talk it through. And so talking it through when you're in enemy mode turns out to be my brain is trying to figure out how to make you lose this discussion. So if you talk it through while you're in enemy mode, you have got dinner at your house with the 2 middles. If you have, let's get out of enemy mode, then we'll talk about it. Now you've got something that the American system doesn't actually look for. And that is, how do we get back to a peaceful, joyful spot? Then we'll have a talk about how, now that we're out of enemy mode, let's talk about, whatever we need to understand about each other. And so, trying to talk things through in enemy mode is what we call having a fight. And, again, it goes down to trying to make the other person lose. And in marriages, you really see this when comes to get a divorce. I watch one family after another lose most of their resources and finances and all the rest of that, paying them to lawyers because they want to make sure the other person loses the divorce fight, when it's in nobody's interest to do that. So again, here's the brain doing its uninstructed things.